Status button.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes.
Good evening, one and all. We are welcoming you from Srivayan College for the 1 week international online FDP program, multidisciplinary research program on methodologies that our topic is related to, holding from 11th September to the 17th September. of biotechnology, physics, electronics, history, and chemistry in association with IQSC, sponsored by State Government of India, Bazar Branch, Narsapuram, SBI. And I feel so happy and so privileged to introduce today's resource person, Dr. K. Chandrasekhar Rao, sir, Chandrasekhar ji. And I would like to introduce that person to the audience and to the fellow staff members who are presented here. Dr. Chandrasekhar is currently working as an associate professor in the Department of CSE at Guru Nanak Institute, Technical Campus, Autonomous, Hyderabad. He acquired 20 years of experience in teaching and research and administration. His research areas including data mining, machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence, pattern recognition, natural language processes. And his awards are, he is a reputed young scientist that he has received the recipient of Young Scientist Award in 2022. Kalpacharya Award in the 2021, Best Academician of the Year Award in 2021, Young Professional Achievement Award in the year 2020, and Uttama Vidyarthi Purashkara Pratibha Award in the year 2000. And he is a life member in so many activities that he had collaborated with ISTE, UAECE, and other professional management of CSTAs, AIO, SFNP, and CISTST. And he is a renowned member for 6 international journals, scientific committee members that for 9 international conferences. He is, to his credit, that he added to 32 publications in various international journals and conferences. And he also organized n number of conferences, FDPs, STTPs, workshops, and guest lectures and webinars to inculcate the various activities in the student and faculty communities by including knowledge or the latest tools and technologies that we are inviting that person. And now I hand over the program and the mic to Dr. K. Chandrasekhar, sir. Sir, it's time for you to begin the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for introducing me, and welcome audience, all the ladies and gentlemen who are rightly available for the faculty development program. Firstly, I would like to thank Sri Y N College for honoring me being a speaker for this session. Let me share my screen first. Hope I'm audible and screen visible, right?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yeah. So good evening, one and all. So I was given a topic, role of ChatGPT in the current educational scenario. So first let me, are there any students available or only the faculty members?
We have some students also, sir.
Students also, okay.
Yes, sir.
So because I want to make the session as interactive, so if it's students, well and good. And even if faculty also, we can have an interactive session, like we can have some questionnaires in between. And you can interrupt me at any point of time. Fine. So it's not like I need to wait only at the end of the session for your questionnaire. Okay.
Thank you.
So
Sir.
let me move on to the session directly.
Sir, you are not audible. Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Yes, sir. Now it's okay.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, thank you.
thank you, sir. So please carry on, sir.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me thanks the YN College for inviting me for this FDP session. And I welcome all the audience, including the faculty members and students who are available for the session. So I was given a topic of role of ChatGPT in the current educational scenario. So rather than explaining the concepts, let us have an interactive session. And as I told you already, you need not waiting until the end of the session. You can interrupt me at any point of time for the questionnaire, right? So first, basically, what exactly is ChatGPT? So ChatGPT is a language model developed by OpenAI. So when we discuss about language model, why do we need a language model? Or what do you mean by a model, first of all? A model doesn't mean, what do you say, blueprint kind of thing. It is a software development, or you can call it as a tool which will automate some activities, isn't it? Say, for example, let me go for a simple example of if a person is visiting from one area to another area. Say, for example, I am going for another country, say German, right? So there is a compulsion that we have to speak in that particular native language only. So I don't know the German language. At the same time, German person don't know my language. Even if I'm talking in English also, they may not understand. So there is a compulsion that you have to either learn German or you need some mediator, isn't it? A mediator who knows both the languages, so that he can translate my language to German and that German people, whenever talking that language to my language, isn't it? So the act of this mediator will be performed by a tool, basically. So basically, any language processing tool will focus on converting a language to another language, isn't it? The same concept even done by regular translators or language translators, isn't it? So the same way, ChatGPT is a language model which will mimic the activities of a human. Like, say, for example, it is designed to understand and generate natural language text in a variety of contexts, including the conversation, writing, and other forms of communication. Now, what do you mean by conversation? Basically, a conversation means, say, for example, we are all using now remotes for smart TVs, where you need not type the text. You can just on the speaker and then speak, so that you get that particular activity performed. Okay, even when you use Google. Okay, now even ChatGPT is overcoming the features what are available in the Google, isn't it? So how it is being done? Because the prediction is being done at the higher accuracy, right? So whether it is conversation or writing, if you speak, you get directly text written, right? Any forms of communication. Sometimes you can drag and drop the contents, you can drag the objects like you have done in your Visual Basic, okay? Or you can have dragging of objects which you are doing in a regular tools, AI tools, right? And it is an impressive AI technology that is capable of understanding natural languages and responding to user queries in a human-like manner. So basically, when you are going for natural languages, so how do you identify the natural languages? So natural languages like English, or even if you go for computer languages, like if you are all familiar with a variety of languages like C++, Java, and all these, whenever you are considering a language, whether it is a natural language or a computer language, first you need to focus on what is the character set. Then how do you combine the characters and get into some words? Generally, you call it as lexeme. In computer terminology, you call them as lexeme. right? And combining that leximes, how you are getting statements, and combining these statements, how you are writing a block of code, and combining all these blocks, how you are getting a program. It is as similar as how you are writing an English language. Like say, for example, you go for collection of letters and call it as a word, collection of words, call it as a sentence, collection of sentences and call it as a paragraph, and collection of paragraphs, you call it as some letter or an essay, right? So to do all this, there are some particular grammar used. Okay, you call it as grammar, where each and every grammar is having some productions, and you call these productions as rules. Now, what are these production rules? Production rules are basically a syntactic rules. It means what are the conditions to be followed. Say, for example, if you are going for a conditional statement like if condition, so you'll be having a particular template. If followed by some condition, if that condition is satisfied, a particular block of code is generated. Fine. Similarly, you are having some other variation of if condition like if else. If a condition is satisfied, a block of code is executed, else another block of code is executed. Okay, if the condition is true, that particular block 1 is executed. If it is failing, then second block is executed. Now, similarly, you are having some other varieties like else if ladder, switch case, you have loops, isn't it? So all these comprises a syntactic rules, and all these syntactic rules are given in a form of a production rules, right? And a combination of all these productions are termed as a grammar. Okay, and this grammar will be given as input to a machine. So this grammar is given as input to machine so that you can automate the process. Fine. So that is how you have an impressive AI technology. Now, when we deal about language model, just now I have discussed, it is a computer program that can understand, generate, and predict natural language text. Now, an interesting term here is predict. Now, what do you mean by predict? The first one you told understand. How do you understand the language? You understand the language through the character set which is provided to the machine, the rules which are provided through production rules. Then what is the next is, after understanding, you have to go for generate. Now, what do you mean by generate? Generate means based on the grammar symbols or based on the production rules which are given for the grammar, how do you generate the strings which are accepted by that particular machine? Say, for example, if I give, say, for example, I am going for a keyword. Let me go for an example of keywords. Int int is called a keyword. Now, what is that int keyword used for? Generally in C programming language. What is int keyword used for? Yes, anyone from the audience? I hope you are aware of some programming languages, right? Are you aware of programming languages? Any response from the participants? Because first I need to know how many of you are aware of the programming languages. Okay. So basically, keywords are nothing but some reserved words where for each and every word there is some peculiar meaning, some predefined meaning which is already available. Okay. So whenever I go for int, combination of 3 characters int, it represents an integer data type, isn't it? So this is called understanding. So how does a computer program understands? Based on the sequence of that characters, which I call it as a lexeme. And then what do you mean by generate? Now, when I go for a combination of int, letters int, I can get a combination of int, I can get a combination of nti, I can get a combination of tni. All the different combinations. I get totally 2 power 3 different combinations. Okay. Generally, when you have 8 characters available, you get 2 power n different combinations. So all these are generated, but among them, which is actually matching the given set of keywords. Now that you call it as generate. So you need not go for generation of all the combinations. You have to generate the strings which are only acceptable through the rules which are provided for the grammar. right? And then next is predict natural language text. Now, what do you mean by prediction? Basically, a prediction is a word which is obtained through training. In the upcoming slides, we will be focusing on some techniques like some terminologies like supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and reinforced. Okay, we'll discuss there in detail. So generally, predict means you are going to forecast what will be the upcoming test. Now, based on the input which is provided by the user, what will be the next text? Say, for example, a simple puzzle which will be solving in gaming terminologies, in gaming, different gaming applications. So when you get some particular pattern, then you have to immediately predict what will be the next pattern. Okay, even if you consider an example of a chess game. So generally, when an opponent is going for a particular move, then immediately you have to forecast, you have to predict what will be the next move by that particular opponent. Accordingly, you will be moving for your yes, any query? Dr. Nageshwar Rao, who is that? And then the next, it works by analyzing patterns in language data. So basically, what do you mean by analyzing the patterns? So patterns is a sequence of text. It can be a sequence of text or sequence of lexeme. Okay. Or when I'm going for combination of words, how you are using that particular combinations to get the required text, whatever is expected for the string. So that you call it as analyzing patterns. Now, analyzing patterns is used mostly when you go for some malpractices. Okay. And then there are a variety of applications. Just a minute. So these are the popular AI tools which have been used so far by various organizations. So among them, ChatGPT is the most widely used, produced by OpenAI. Then Bing is an app or application which is produced by Microsoft. Blender board produced by Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook. And Google, which is produced by a Google company. Now, basically, since chatbot is an application which is developed by OpenAI, so first we have to understand what exactly is OpenAI. So when you deal about OpenAI, it's an artificial intelligence research laboratory. So which people are continuously working on giving the best automations. So this is dedicatedly working on creating advanced AI systems that can benefit society as a whole. So see, everything we have to focus on moving towards a positive science where the society gets benefit out of it, right? Of course, the ChatGPT is nowadays used in even malpractices, but which is not suggestible. So always your motto must be to move towards a benefit for the society. And OpenAI is committed to advancing the field of AI and creating new technologies. So in the upcoming slides, I have mentioned some applications of OpenAI. And in addition to its research efforts, OpenAI has released several powerful AI tools. So let us focus on how it works. Now the model uses unsupervised learning to understand the patterns and structures in the data. Now here I have to focus on the term called unsupervised. Now what exactly is unsupervised? So generally when you go for the traditional terminologies of machine learning and AI, we get the terms of supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and reinforcement. So you call it as supervised learning. So when do you call it as supervised learning? When you are having some training patterns available with you, then you call it as supervised learning. The best example of supervised learning is the regular relation between a teacher and a student. A student is learning from a teacher. So you call that as a supervised learning. Fine. So even if you learn from online source also, generally we say that Google is our natural teacher. Nowadays, everyone is during the period of lockdown, they say, sir, Google has overcome the position of teacher. But was it actually done? No, you need some teacher compulsory to help you in understanding what exactly the concepts are. So that you call it as supervised learning. Now, the other is unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning is, let me give an example. Generally, an unsupervised learning is the one which without any particular pattern available or without any help, the machine is learning on its own. Say, for example, let me take a simple example of some biological or bioinformatics example. I want to develop an application to predict a particular disease, right? So when I want to develop an application to predict a particular disease, what I generally do, say, for example, I am working on a heart disease data set. Then first I'll be going for training a model. I'll be training in such a way that I'll be taking some attributes. Say, for example, I'll be taking an attributes of age, cholesterol, BP, all the different whatever which are related to that particular heart disease, right? So I collect the data from a particular hospital. Then based on that particular attributes, for each and every attribute, I need to analyze what are the normal range of values where a person can be healthy. Say, for example, if you go for blood pressure, you have a range of 80-120. Okay. So likewise, for each and every attribute, you need to have a range of values where you can say that a person is not having any disease or a person is healthy. Okay. So likewise, you have all the different range of values for the attributes. Now you'll be collecting the case studies from the hospital. Now, what do you mean by case studies? Case studies is when a person is getting admitted or whenever a person is going for a hospital. I hope you generally see that they take a copy of your doctor prescriptions. So what they do, they store all this data into images, which will be again further analyzed using image processing techniques, or sometimes all these whatever prescriptions are available, these are converted to a data. These are converted to data and stored as data sheets at hospitals, right? So now coming to our point, when we have all this data stored in as data sheets, and whenever a new patient is coming, and when I want to develop an application which gives you the level of risk of having a disease without any doctor intervention, okay, then that I call it as supervised learning. So whenever a person is having or whenever a record of data has come, then I'll be cross-checking with existing data set. So if you are having the values which are matching with the existing data set, then the same value, what is, say, for example, already in the data set, I had some values of age 34, having a BP of 120, having some cholesterol, okay, and all some values. And finally, the attribute is having that the particular patient is having a heart disease. Now, a similar values when you are getting, when a new patient is coming and that values are matching with that particular record, then obviously the application will give that that person is also having a risk of having a heart disease, right? So that is called a supervised learning. That is when you are having a training model available, when you are having a training data set available with you. But when your data is not matching with the existing, then you have to focus on the unsupervised learning. Now, what do you mean by unsupervised learning? The machine will learn on its own based on the available data. Okay. Or it will be the best example of unsupervised learning is you can take an example of clustering. Clustering is an example of unsupervised learning because you will not have any class labels available. Okay, if you are going for an example of supervised learning, the best example is classification. So classification will have a class label. So it is called a supervised learning because based on the class label, it will predict the class label of the new tuple. But when you are going for clustering, you don't have any class labels. That is, you don't have any teaching component there. Okay, so what it does, it just calculates the distances among the objects, how closely they are, how closely they are. It calculates the distances, and if the distance is within the threshold value, then it will be included in that cluster. If that calculated distance is beyond that threshold value, then it will be thrown in the other cluster, isn't it? So if it is within the cluster, then that particular value will be assigned to that particular data label, isn't it? So like that, the machine will learn on its own. So that you call it as unsupervised learning. And this unsupervised learning is to understand the patterns and structures in the data. Okay. So now again, whenever you get a term of patterns, it can be rules, it can be patterns generally which are matched. Say for example, generally when some incidents are happening, some bomb blasts or any incidents are happening, then immediately they cross check with the previous incidents. Okay, like say for example, was it a tiffin bomb kept in a tiffin box? Okay, or if it is kept in some a particular area, and even they also coincide with the dates also, because some organizations, they focus on a particular dates, they target the people. Okay, so even that also can be considered as patterns, right? So all these patterns, even when you go for image processing techniques, when you have some theft being done, then they will be comparing all this with the existing patterns which are available in the various police stations. So even that is a context of understanding patterns and structures in the data, right? And once a model has been trained, then it can generate the new text based on the input it receives. So an entire process of machine learning and artificial intelligence is focusing on the training of the model. Okay, how best the model is trained, you get the prediction accurately, right? And getting 100% accuracy in prediction is almost impossible. So always our motto will be to move towards 99.99, isn't it? And especially for the applications like bioinformatics, we expect to get almost close to 100%. Then only we say that the model is being trained perfectly, right? And the output generated by the ChatGPT is typically coherent and contextually relevant. So what do you mean by coherent? Logically or highly logical. Okay, and it must be contextually relevant. So whatever, say for example, when you go for various applications, even when you are chatting in your social media, whatever you are talking, you get at the bottom some text, isn't it? And you can observe that you can just cross check 99% of your talking, you'll have the same text. But somehow when you give some gap, or when you have some linguistically pronouncing differently, then you'll get some different words, isn't it? So your training of model must be in such a way that for some small variation also, it has to give the correct generated output. So even when you concentrate on the biometric devices also, nowadays people are focusing on having a biometric devices where the accuracy is not 100%. Because if you keep an accuracy of 100% for biometric, never you can give a biometric. Can you all keep your mobiles in silent mode, please? Yeah. So, because say for example, if I keep 100% accuracy for a biometric device, what happens? Once you give a training, first whenever you have a biometric device, first you train it. Okay. Generally, when you go for various organizations, they first initially take biometric 3 times. 3 times they take the biometric finger, isn't it? At various positions. Okay. First they take a forward, then some cross angled left to right, like that. So the difference, the reason is, even if you have some variations also, the machine has to recognize you. If I take only once and if you take an accuracy of 100%, you believe that you can never log into your organization. Okay, because it all focuses on the bacteria which is also available on your fingers. So generally they try to focus on 80 to 90% of accuracy, not more than that. Fine. And this is the general history of what ChatGPT, owned by OpenAI, launch date 30 November 2022, and user base count. You can see what is the user base count. It is over 100 million people. And whatever the ChatGPT knowledge. Now, let me focus on this word now. What do you mean by knowledge base? So knowledge base means whenever you are using a ChatGPT. So generally ChatGPT nowadays we are also using for Excel purposes. We are using for Paint, even while going for Paint or writing pad, anything, any application, you are going for a knowledge base. So what do you mean by knowledge base? What are all the different patterns or inputs which are being stored, right? So the knowledge base which is being stored is till September 2021. And of course, there are various versions which I presented in the next slides. So initially, whenever ChatGPT was introduced, it was the events were considered till September 2021. And the daily users of ChatGPT are over 13 million, right? So this was the general history. You can just go through it. And the forecasted revenue of ChatGPT is over $200 million by the end of 2023, and almost right now it has crossed 1 billion. And coming to the features of ChatGPT, the main basically is you have to go for natural language processing. So when you go for natural language processing, you have to focus on the writing text. You have to go for the speech processing. We have to go for image processing, because whenever you go for a regular online applications, or just take an example of a website will have all the different features, like all the different contents. You can have contents of text, you can have content as an images, you can have content as a URLs, you can have a content as advertisements. Okay, you can have contents of videos. So it has to analyze all these events which are there in a particular website, isn't it? So whenever you are going for a natural language process also, you don't know what will be the input from the user. The input from the user may be a text, sometimes it may be an image, sometimes it may yeah, thank you. So the contextual understanding, the ChatGPT focuses on the understanding the context of a conversation and generate the responses. Now, what do you mean by conversation? When two different persons are talking, then you have a test called Turing test, which is a basic test for artificial intelligence. So what does Turing test does is, when a person is talking, then the other side will be a machine. Now that machine is said to pass that particular Turing test when we don't get any doubt that the other person is a machine. Say generally when I say hi, then I expect a response of hello. Okay. Now instead if I get a response of bye, then I think, what happened? Is it a person or some machine which is replying? Okay. So until and unless you get a wrong response, then you say that machine has passed that test, isn't it? And that is the reason whenever you are going for some registration process, you will get some logo there saying that you have to ensure that you are not a robot. So it will give some images. It gives some images and it will say, select the box which is having some car, select a box which is having some symbol. So if you go for some wrong selection, then it will feel that you are not a human being, you are a machine. So it gives some other patterns. So even that also you call it as patterns, isn't it? So until and unless you give correct responses, you keep on getting that options, isn't it? So that you call it as contextual understanding. And then multilingual support. So what do you mean by multilingual support? You must the application, whatever you are focusing on, must be able to handle various languages. Just now I told you, if you are not in a position to handle multiple languages, then you need a translator, isn't it? So you need some other application. So when an application is again in need of some other application, obviously it's a drawback. So you need to focus on a multilingual support. Fine. And then personalization. A ChatGPT can be personalized to suit individual preferences and needs, making it more effective at generating relevant and useful responses. So generally, personalization can also be treated as when you go for, say, for example, some application, you have a option called customize, wherein you can customize as per your requirement. Say, for example, if you take a simple example of ATM machines, all the ATM machines of various banks will not be the same. Hope you might have observed. Okay, so there will be a different user interfaces. There will be a different setup. Okay, and some you also have a voice recognitions, isn't it? So all these are a pattern or the process of personalization, that is customizing on their own so as to attract the end users. Now here also ChatGPT will give a variety of personalization options where you can focus on your individual preferences, your individual needs, and your individual responses, and how relevant your application is. And that is where not only the automation, even when you go for software development life cycle also, the focus will be more on the customer requirements, end user requirements. And that is the reason rather than focusing on the traditional waterfall model, we'll be moving towards incremental models. Now, what do you mean by incremental models? Incremental models will focus on the feedback from the customers, feedback from the end users, so that once after releasing that particular product, after taking the feedback from the customer, then you will be going for an iterative approach. That is, you will be again updating that particular application. That is where you get various versions. Whenever a product is about to release in the market, first you get alpha version, then beta version, then the actual application will be released into the market, right? And next, continuous learning. Yes, obviously, any machine learning or any AI application has to have this feature of continuous learning. Why? Because you may be training a machine with some 1 crore different fields or different records. But when a new record is coming, which is not matching with any of the existing, then what you need to do? You need to compulsory update this record into your data set, isn't it? Now, similarly with the ChatGPT, it is designed to continually learn and improve based on the feedback from the users, making it more accurate and effective over time. So always see a simple example I'll give you. The same, let me consider the same example, whatever I've taken just now, bioinformatics. So when I'm going for developing an application for a hospital management system, initially I may have 100 records. Okay. Now with that 100 records, I may get an accuracy of some 80%, 80% accuracy. Now, is it enough for me? Is 80% enough for a biological application? Obviously, no. So what I need to do? I need to increase that particular accuracy. So how you will increase that percentage? Obviously, I can't change the data set which is available in the with the hospital. I can't go for change in the values of that particular records. So how do I increase the accuracy? Because whenever a new record is coming, and if that record is not matching with the existing records, then based on the available records, I'll predict the values for the newly available. For the newly available data, I'll predict a value, isn't it? So after predicting a value, then the doctor will analyze that, whether the application has predicted that value correctly or not. Okay. Now, after verification from the doctor, then that record can be added to the database. Okay. And that I call it as a knowledge base. In the previous slide, we got a term called knowledge base. Now, what is the knowledge base? Whenever you are having some records which are already present and the new records are coming which are not matching with the existing records, then I'll update that particular database. Okay. and whatever the measures and metrics I am getting, so that I'll storing as a separate base, which you call it as a knowledge base. So likewise, I'll be updating that particular database, and parallelly I'll be updating the knowledge base also. So it is a continuous learning of a machine, whereby updating both the database and knowledge base. Fine. So these are the important features of ChatGPT. So just now I told that the history of ChatGPT in the previous slides. It was in launch date in November 2022, but the actual version has started from 2018, ChatGPT 1, where it was initially focusing on the text. So a large-scale transformer-based language model designed to generate human-like text. Then later we have to then get for ChatGPT 2. Any problem? Oh, no, right. So then the ChatGPT 2, which was the precursor of the ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT 3 was focusing on natural language processing. Then 3.5, which was released in 2021, focusing on the conversational AI applications. Then after all this refinement in 2022, the OpenAI continues working on this, and it was released. Okay, so this was with an ongoing research. As I told you, OpenAI is a research community which is focusing on enhancing the model's accuracy, scalability, and versatility. So it is a scope for improvement. It's a continuous improvement. Okay, and which is a never-ending process, and that is the reason we say that research will never end. People may say that data mining has come to an end now, or machine learning, there is no further scope, because continuously people are working on it, and there are many researchers coming out with various models. But let me tell you, there is no end for it, because first of all, there is no end for data. When there is no end for data, then obviously there is no end for analysis, isn't it? And these are the various applications. As I told, customer support. So ChatGPT can be used to provide instant responses to customer queries and issues. So the focus is now more on what is the time taken to give the response. See, generally, whenever any application you focus on, or any algorithm which you focus on, we need to concentrate on the time complexity and space complexity. Okay, so time complexity is the time taken to get that particular outcome, and space complexity is how much amount of memory you require for storing the data for that application and running that application. Fine. So when there is a conflict between these two complexities, time complexity and space complexity, then obviously you need to give preference to the time complexity, not the space complexity, because getting a space is not a big deal, because you get a TB of data only in hundreds or thousand rupees, but time is more important, isn't it? So we need to focus on the instant responses. So that is the reason when you have ChatGPT, when you run the application of ChatGPT, you will not get the links like what you have got in Google. Generally in Google, you'll be getting, whenever you type some text, you'll be getting various links. Now first you will be in a confusion which link to open, and then you start opening from the first link. Then if you feel that that is not relevant to you, then you'll be focusing on the second link. Then again, if you feel that is also not relevant, then you focus on the third link. So like that, you'll be going for n number of links. But ChatGPT will not give any links. It will directly give you the text, relevant content for your search word, whatever you are giving there. Okay, so instant responses will be given to the customer queries and issues. And next, language translation. As I told you, the main concept of any automation tool is for translating from one form to another form, or one language to another language. So ChatGPT can be used to translate text from one language to another, making it very effective for the communication. Okay, and now that is the reason you have got various applications which converts from English to Telugu, Telugu to English, or any other languages. Okay, even foreign languages as well. Fine. And then personal assistance. ChatGPT can be used to provide users with helpful information assistance in a variety of contexts. Now, whenever you are going for a ChatGPT, searching for some text, then it will give you the relevant content and how you got that relevant content, or from which source it has given that particular content. So it will give you the relevant, useful information and even assistance. Thereby, if you need further information, you can concentrate on that particular resources. Fine. Well, generally, not only this, any document you go for, generally you'll be going for documentation of your project works also. So at the end, we'll be giving bibliography. Fine. So bibliography, even when you focus on the papers published, when you go for publications, various publications, people concentrate on the references. So we need to focus on what are the reference papers, reference books, reference websites or URLs. Thereby, these all to be mentioned in your documentations. When you go for mentioning all this as a bibliography, that will help you in the future for some other users. Okay. So that is at most important. And then education sector. ChatGPT can be used as an educational tool, providing students with instant feedback and assistance with their coursework. So not only instant feedback and assistance coursework, as I told you earlier, nowadays ChatGPT is used in Paint, in Word, your Excel. Okay, all the office applications are being embedded with the ChatGPT. And then content generation. So content generation, generally when you go for all the social media, blog posts, and news articles, okay, all the social media applications are embedded with the ChatGPT. So as you all know, for any application or any new technology, you are having various advantages and disadvantages. So first, let me focus on what are the pros of ChatGPT. Language diversity. So it has been trained on a variety of text data. Just now we have discussed in the previous text itself. So language translation, making the different cultures, different languages and different regions. So language diversity is one of the advantages of ChatGPT. And then contextual understanding, which is also one of the feature. Okay, we went with the feature, which is contextual understanding is a major application advantage for ChatGPT. And then scalability. So what is scalability? What is the scope for improvement? So it can be trained on large amounts of data. So there's no any stop for training. So the training will be a continuous. So that is the reason you call it as, yeah, we have even given in the features, the last feature, continuous learning. So it will keep on learning until you get some new record, then it will automatically tend to learn. So you need to train a machine in such a way that the new records will be all included in the database, and whatever the knowledge you are getting in the form of patterns, that are to be updated in the knowledge base. So these two things must be a continuous process whereby the scalability increases. Now, what are the disadvantages of this? It's a biased data. So ChatGPT can be biased if it is trained on the data that is not representative of the real world. So that is the reason you need to have a specific administrator to include that particular record into the data set. So that is the reason just now I considered an example of bioinformatics, saying that if a new record is coming, which is not matching with the existing available records of the data set, then you need to, the machine will predict the data, predict the class label, and then it is to be approved by the doctor. Okay. After getting approved by the doctor only, that record is to be added to the data set, isn't it? If it is not approved by doctor, what happens? Say, for example, if it is wrongly predicted and without any approval of doctor, that particular record is added into the data set, then what happens? The quality of data gets decreased. Now, when the quality of data is getting decreased, then obviously the accuracy decreases. And if the accuracy decreases, then finally the model will fail. Okay, the model will fail and the percentage of the accuracy goes on diminishing. So that is the reason you have to focus on a trained one, which you must have some representative of the real world. and then lack of common sense. So generally you may get some responses which are not logical. Okay, so to have some logical responses, you need to have more data set. The more is the size of the data set, the more will be the accuracy and the more will be the logical responses. So for smaller data set, you can't expect a logical or reasonable outcome. Fine. And then inability to reason. So generally ChatGPT, I told you that you get some text based on your search word, and then what are the references which you are dealing with. Now, when you give some complex search words, or when you have some search words which are the combination of words, text, symbols, something like that, then it can't give a responses, or it will not even give an error message. Okay. So that is inability to reason. So ChatGPT may not be able to solve complex problems or answer complex questions. Now, these are some applications. This is a Microsoft controls AI. This is a general thing. Now, this is a collation of all the applications which are available. Now, more or less we have already covered this. Now, this also we have covered. So let me not focus on the history. Rather, I'll say what can it do. Now, what can a ChatGPT do? Yeah, any queries so far? I think I'm going in a one-way communication. So let me just have a break in my session, and yeah, any questions so far? I hope I'm not concentrating on the charts. Yeah, participants, any questions so far?
Sir,
yeah.
I have a small question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How to prevent this plagiarism and ethical problems using ChatGPT?
Sir, good question, sir. Generally, when you go for plagiarism, there are two approaches, sir, here. One is focusing on, see, generally, when you go for publications, nowadays, what the genuine applications we are focusing is only the Scopus industry publications.
Okay.
Fine. The remaining are not. And coming to plagiarism, all the tools, whatever being used for plagiarism, you are focusing on a continuous 5 words.
Okay.
And you also have online tools which converts the plagiarized text to unplagiarized just by updating or interchanging the words or changing the tenses, past tense to present tense, present to past, and all that. Okay. So it is all how best the machine is being trained.
Okay.
Okay, sir. So, sir, that is what a challenge now for ChatGPT. As I told you, prediction is not that easy. Getting 100% prediction is not at all possible. So we are trying to focus on, say for example, if you have some sequence of text, say for example, mostly if you want to avoid the plagiarism, the best is a computer scientist has to be in collaboration with an English literature person, and then he has to give some rules saying that compulsory this particular word is to be followed by this word. Okay. Or you have to give, say for example, we generally say that you have to use a noun and immediately followed by some adverb.
Oh.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
But generally, what the researchers do in their documentation, researchers can go for any combination. They don't focus on this linguistics, English linguistics.
Okay.
So if we want to exactly avoid that, then I feel that a computer scientist has to work in collaboration with an English professor. Then you can avoid the plagiarism.
It's not like I am not a robo method.
Yeah, no. No, sir, it will not be a robo method. You can go for various applications, sir. You have some free tools available in the internet, which are directly converting the plagiarized text to unplagiarized text But when you really focus on that unplagiarized test, which you are getting as a resultant, the entire meaning will change sometimes. Sometimes the entire meaning changes. So if your documentation will go for a peer reviewing, compulsory, it will go in a failure. Like they don't recommend publishing that particular document. So the best solution what I give is, sir, whenever you get some plagiarized text, you have to rewrite the text. Instead of going for some shortcut methods, we have to go for rewriting the text.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Yeah, any other?
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
This is G. Venkatrao from GDC Chinturu, sir.
Okay,
Sir,
sir.
how it is the ChatGPT, how it is different from Google search engine, sir?
Sir, I have given a slide in the upcoming. I'll explain in detail there. I have given that slide already. Generally, one of the difference I told just now, Google will give n number of links.
Sir.
N number of links, out of which 90% will be irrelevant.
Sir.
But ChatGPT focuses on only the relevant text and will directly give only at a glance. You'll get on. You need not go for searching.
Sir.
Okay, that is one of the biggest difference between the Google and the ChatGPT, sir.
Sir, I have a question. ChatGPT is not updated. It was only up to 2000. It is giving information like that.
Just a minute, sir. Yeah, this is the difference, sir. You just asked regarding difference between ChatGPT and Google's Bard.
Sir.
Just a minute. Is it visible, sir, on the screen?
Sir.
Yes, sir. So here the main concentration is, sir.
Sir.
Here you can see currently available to the selected users.
Sir.
The ChatGPT here currently available in the United States only.
Sir.
So I'll forward this slide, sir, to the your faculty. You can go through this also.
But ChatGPT is not providing after 2000 information, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's
no,
not
sir.
no.
When it was released in 2022 refinement, sir, it has taken the knowledge base till September 2021. But later, sir, it is getting updated here, which is multi-modal language model and has been publicly available. Then, sir, obviously it is being updated, because without updation, nothing will work out, sir. It will be a failure.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
At that time, when it was released in 2022, the 13 November 2022, then they have considered the knowledge base till September 2021.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Yeah, any others? Okay, so let us now focus on
good evening. This is R.V. Subbarao speaking.
Yes, sir. Yes.
From a researcher point of view.
Yes, sir.
And the topic is on the research methodology as a sequel.
Okay.
Would you say that it's going to make a lot of difference for a researcher who starts either with an objective of doing some research in a topic, and then whether it helps him further if he embarks onto a multidisciplinary kind of activity?
Sir, good question, sir. For a beginner, it helps a lot, sir. And I recommend to use ChatGPT until your design phase, sir. That is when you are focusing on it generally works more when you are focusing on the literature survey. But later, when you are going for proposing your own methodology, then I don't recommend ChatGPT.
It eases the burden of literature survey. Do you think like that, sir?
Yeah, it's generally like what generally we focus on literature survey. We focus on the relevant publications or relevant peer researchers.
Yes. And how one should be assured that he is not leaving out a particular thing. That is, whether the 100% search would have been carried out by ChatGPT.
Can you repeat the question?
Like when we do very conventional, traditional way is to go cross references and then get back to the original papers and then get back. So that kind of activity, whether it becomes easier with ChatGPT, and we will not miss out. Is there any published literature on this one, sir?
Yes. Mainly focusing, sir, ChatGPT works well only on the text-based. When you are focusing on various flowchart kind of thing or diagrammatic representations or various models, then ChatGPT will not be that preferable. But when you are focusing on the text-based,
and you did not probably I missed out, or whether you did not touch upon the prompt part of it. That is the way you ask, the response will be generated, right?
Obviously, any application focuses on your search word only, sir.
Yeah. So whereas in Google, normally what people do is some keywords they'll put in and then they get their thing.
Yes.
But in ChatGPT, it's a little more than that, right?
You have to go for a full text. You have
this
to go
is
for a full
where
text.
The ability to ask also is very important.
Yes, you have to go for a full text. That is what I am telling, that it focuses more on the text rather than the different keyword search kind of thing, because Google search focuses
probably
on the keyword
maybe
search.
You could have a little more focused on that part
keyword
of it
search.
As an example, probably taken one or two examples
point,
to show. I do not know. I'm just not for my sake, but definitely for the sake of 126
no,
people
sir,
are there.
I have given some
I'm not very
examples
sure
in
whether any
in
of them are
upcoming
going
slides.
to get into the utilization of this for their research work.
No. There are some examples.
I was thinking, sir. That's
There are some examples. So basically, when you go for ChatGPT, now what can it do? Has multiple functions. Now, whatever sir has asked, now I hope you will better understand through these examples which I have focused here in the slides. Now, it can use to research a given topic, discuss it, and draw your own conclusions. Now, this will focus on, say, for example, when you use a ChatGPT, now you so let me just go for an application here. Covered in the text also. Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you with an application also after this conclusion. So we have already discussed what is ChatGPT here. A chat system whose main function is to develop language through artificial intelligence. Then focusing on the conversation, that is main important. And who developed it? It's an open AI, which we have already discussed. Now, how can I use it? So keeping in mind that people receive different answers as ChatGPT learns to provide information according to personal traits of each person. So the text, whatever you are typing as a keyword, now just now one of the faculty has explained. Now let me show you practically. already created an account. So let me create an account now, another account. So I think if you are on a system, you can work out in parallel. You can just work out in parallel through the steps which are provided in the PPT. You can go through the website https chat. Please mute your audio. So you can go through the website https chat.openai.com and you can just give your mail ID. I hope you are all trying out. There is no problem. Okay, it will take some time. So meanwhile, let me continue this. what are the various activities? Like you can, just a minute.
At that time, they told, sir, for the next coming students, these things.
Probably
Yes,
you
sir.
go ahead with your
Students?
strategy, sir.
Yeah.
No
Yes,
problem.
yes. You have
Just,
told that things, sir, for the next
yeah.
semester, people, this syllabus and everything. But now he's
Yeah,
not
any
accepting that.
students?
Sir, if you want, sir, we can put this BN Naidu's this thing. You can say what BN Naidu said. That's the thing. Yeah.
Sir, any doubts?
Like that, we have to say, na?
Any doubts?
Then what to do?
So you can focus. Yeah, any doubts, please? Okay. So you can use ChatGPT for letter welcoming. I mean, generally you can go for, as I told, a Word or an Excel or a PPT, or you can go for a resizing or changing. See, you can use all these different symbolic representations, infographics, changing the colors, going for resizing, or you can also go for visualization techniques. You go for visualization techniques where you can include the maps, you can include the various symbols, flowcharts, all the pictorial representations, right? So once you go for talking about an application which uses various flowchart, because all these are various kinds of graphical representation of your algorithms. A flowchart representation, you can go for a UML diagrams, fine. So all these are various representations. And you can also select a particular template when you are focusing on a word processing tools. When you go for word processing tools, what are the different templates you require? That you can focus here. Or if you want this is a slide actually, you can go for what do you say, merging or splitting. You call it as fork process. You go for fork process where a particular text can be divided into 3 different categories, or you can merge the text, isn't it? So this kind of applications or this kind of diagrammatic representations also can be done using ChatGPT. And you can also go for representing various plots, various graph representations, histogram representations, pie chart notations. So all these, we generally use it in our Excel applications and word processing techniques, right? And this is a simple application where ChatGPT is a software that simulates human-like conversations. So I spoke to you about Turing text. When you're going for test applications, so when you're typing a text here, then you are receiving a response from the other side. So if you are getting a response which is relevant, then you say that the application has been passed the test. Otherwise, you say that it is failing the test. So the typical scenario is mentioned here in the diagram in the PPT. You can use one application which is from Amazon. So how you are getting a user interface with respect to some menu, and based on the menu, you can also take an example of IVRS systems also. So how you are getting the voice responses, based on the voice responses, how you get the acknowledgements to that particular application. And these are some of the examples. So examples I'll show you practically. Someone was questioning what are the advantages and disadvantages. So apart from the various pros and cons which we already discussed, you get results much faster. You can focus on the higher level problems and don't waste time on focusing on the low level details, because low level details will be a pot of prawns, and you can work and solve problems in areas where you are not an expert. See, you need not have any expertise in using a ChatGPT. So generally, where there are some applications where you need some basic expertise in that particular application, or you need to have some domain knowledge. So for ChatGPT, you need not have any domain knowledge. That is one of the best advantage. And understanding the piece of code is easier when an AI can explain it. So you have some text, whatever the text you are giving, you get the result along with some references. So that will be helping you in explaining much better. So that is an advantage of ChatGPT, which you don't find it in the Google search. And limitations may occasionally generate incorrect information. So obviously that will be improved based on the training methodology. So it is a continuous improvement. So obviously in the upcoming days, you get much better information. You get much better text also. See, for this, you can just try it out, searching for some text at one particular day, and later after a week or a month, you search the same text, you get some different information. So that indicates that the machine has been trained. You are getting more accurate results, or even sometimes more text also, and may occasionally produce harmful instructions. You need not focus on this, because there is not much harmful based on your outcomes, because if it is useful, you'll consider it, otherwise you'll ignore that particular response. And limited knowledge of words and events after 2020, because when it was released, as I told you, now it is being upgraded. Now the upgradation will focus more on the admin person. Okay, so if you are having a day-to-day updation, say for example, I have run 1 crore events, or 1 crore responses I have received, and for that, how many of them were acknowledged? Now, if I am acknowledging all the responses, then you can say that the knowledge has been improved at the maximum level. Else, you say that it is not being done accurately. So that is why a limited knowledge is being done after the release of that particular ChatGPT applications. And before going for conclusion, now let me just go for some references. So let me try it again if I can get it. Yeah, any problem?
No, sir, nothing from our side. You can carry on, please, sir.
Yeah. Just a minute, I'm waiting for the response here. Because if I can show practically, then maybe you all can try to do this process meanwhile.
So please share your screen, sir. We are not able to see screen.
Okay, just a minute, just a minute. There was some interruption in between. Is it clear now? Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
Hope you all can try signing up. So let me try again the same. Or let me go for text. Oh, there is some problem here. Let me try SMS. So these are all the various examples which you can focus on. The grammar correction, someone was focusing on the plagiarism text. So one is you can focus on the grammar correction. The other is meeting note summarizer. You can, with respect to coding part, you can focus on translation, natural language to SQL, where you can directly move towards DBMS related queries. And I told you, it also works with respect to your Excel spreadsheet creator. Not working. This is one sample generally. For grammar correction, say for example, if a user is giving, she know when to market. So this will be compared with your syntax, or say generally when you have a syntax and semantics with respect to computer programming or computer languages. So here in English you call it as a grammar. So here the actual response will be she did not go to the market. So that will be converted with respect to the grammar correction. So likewise you can have, and this will be automatically done. Now this is a code related to that. It's an application program interface. Or you can go for parsing. Or let me focus on keywords. Yeah, I need to actually go for a generation. So I'll go for a spreadsheet creator. So whenever you go for a spreadsheet creator, here you get created 2-column CSV. So comma separated value file with respect to some application. Now here the application considered is movies. Not it.
వాయిస్ రావట్లేదు సార్, వాయిస్ రావట్లేదు.
Yeah, sorry for interruption. There was a power failure. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Please share the screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Sir, perhaps you can show the concluding slide and then we can probably, that's good, sir.
I'm just doing this. Just a minute. So to conclude, ChatGPT, as discussed, is a powerful language model. Yeah, so it acts as a powerful tool, a model that can generate human-like responses to natural language input, and mostly recommended for research during the literature survey. And many practical applications like chatbots, virtual assistants, customer service. So customer service now, majority are focusing on chatbots and customer service, because as I told, customer service will focus on the customization. So whatever we have discussed so far, the presentation concepts, how the user interface looks, and ChatGPT's ability to understand the context and generate relevant responses makes it impressive. And it's an application of the artificial intelligence. Now we have discussed various advantages, disadvantages, limitations. However, the limitations can be overcome once a model is being trained. So the more is a data set, you get the more accuracy, such as a potential bias and lack of common sense must be addressed for responsible. Now this can be achieved once the training is reached to the maximum level. And ChatGPT represents the significant advancement in the field of natural language processing. So natural language processing focuses on the text processing, image processing, all the various kinds of applications has to deal with all these events. So you call it as the event processing applications. So in general, I can call it as event processing applications, and its ongoing development will likely lead to further breakouts and innovation. So more and more research is still carried out to increase the accuracy of the various kinds of applications, right? So you can go through these references. As I told, I'll forward the PPTs to the coordinators. Okay. So I think there's a problem with the power also. Yeah, thank you all. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you all for the queries, and thank you all for your interaction during the session. And I hope your college organizes many more FDPs of such kinds. Thank you all.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Chandrasekhar.
Yes, sir.
It was an exciting and interesting presentation with your expert way of explaining. It's very nice, and I hope all the 130 people have enjoyed this.
I
surely
can find the
it
participants more
reduces
than 100.
certain mundane burdens of the researcher and puts him on a focus on the real problem, and probably he can utilize all the features of ChatGPT as of now, which gets further refined for presenting and makes his job easier while searching for his literature as well as presenting his results, and use some of the tools for even analyzing his data. I think it's a very nice thing. It's a beginner's tool. People can play with it, learn more, and you have also shown practically some of the applications, and you're very extensive in your way of presenting. Thank you very much, Dr. Chandrasekhar. I hope everyone has enjoyed, and it's time for Abhilash to go for the next set. Thank you, Mr.
Okay. Thank you, one and all. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you very much for all the participants who are being online and offline available here. And from the presentation desk and the sponsored and the organizing desk from the Department of Biotechnology, Physics, Electronics, History, Chemistry, in association with the IQAC, that we are thanking everyone. And the special thanks is to APV Apparao sir, the principal of our college, and Dr. C. Satyanarayan Rao sir, secretary and correspondent of our college, and Mr. R.V. Subbarao sir, retired scientist, academic and research advisor, Sri Vayan College, Narsapuram. And the special thanks to the resource person of today's program, Dr. K. Chandrasekhar sir, thank you very much for your valuable information on the present scenarios ChatGPT, that which is very important for the upliftment of the students and as well as the faculty members of nowadays. And it's going to be helped us a lot in using in nowadays how important it is to uplift the individual capabilities of every person in the research and all the areas in the teaching field too. And we are thanking you very much from the bottom of the heart. And from this session, I want to thank the sponsors of this program, the State Bank of India, Bazaar Branch, Narsapuram. We thank one and all for being patient in this session. And I just want to inform to the all the participants, be regular in time and keep mute your mics in the next session. That's I want to tell from the organization. And we are requesting everyone.
Thank you, the organizers, coordinators, and it is happy to have more than 100 participants available, even at a period of 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. also, during the late hours, even after your college hours also. Happy to see such a huge crowd. Thank you, organizers.
Thank you, sir. And the feedback forms are in your screens. Please go through and give your feedback. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir.